Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the Austin Lindsay channel. I have one of my good friends, Ryan Gordon, on. He's been on the channel a couple times. He's a film guy. Welcome, Ryan.
I pretend to be a film guy. I pretend to be a photographer. I'm just happy to be here.
He's good. Dude, the way you see light and all that stuff, I can pull up your Instagram. This is his Instagram. So scrolling down through here, I don't know, just your stuff is so freaking good. I mean, even just like a picture like this.
Man, stop it.
Yeah, Ryan. He also has a YouTube channel. It's what is it? YouTube.com/Ryan Gordon, Ryan_Gordon.
Ryan_Gordon. Yep. Okay. I was lucky enough. I got Ryan_Gordon like across the board for all my stuff.
Dude, that's cool. I got Austin Lindsay. I usually when a new social media comes out, I'll just try and steal Austin Lindsay just in case I ever want to use it.
So you heard it here first. Follow him on TikTok.
I do have TikTok. I have 6 videos on there. Dude, you can only do so many social medias, you know?
Seriously, it's so draining to do them well, let alone like period.
Because I'll do YouTube videos and then I'll edit a whole video and I try to even keep them short, like 7 minutes or something. And then people are like, you should also put on TikTok. I'm like, but then I have to do a 19 by 6 and then a 15 or whatever second video for that. Then I have to do it for Instagram, which I could just go through. But by the time I'm done editing the YouTube video, I'm like, buh.
You don't want to edit it again.
Yeah. So yeah, but Ryan, his YouTube is great. I'll post a link to it or put a text or something down here. But yeah, the way you see light, I mean, I always want to ask you how you see light. When you walk into, I think I've asked you this before, but when you walk into a place, for instance, this picture, are you noticing hey, the light is coming from the window here. It's a little bit darker on the side. I'm going to put a person there. Do you see that when you walk into a room instantly, or do you have to kind of walk around and rack your brain to see it?
I'd say probably 98%. I just see it. Specifically this picture that you've got up right now, we were shooting a commercial and it was just the morning natural light coming through. And I was like, oh my gosh, Max, go sit right there. I have to take a photo of you. And so I got him to hop into the frame and I took the photo. But pre-recording this, we kind of talked about theater and live recordings and stuff. And I think that's where it all started for me light-wise, because I did light design from junior high through high school for live productions. And I think that's kind of shaped how I see and interpret light. And it's really influenced my photography and video work.
And but you also draw too. You're a drawer.
Yeah, I dabble.
Do you work with light in your sketching or anything? Or do you think that helps?
I would love to. I don't know. I used to work at a job that everyone there was artists and they all played with inks and watercolors and they were all so good at that I've kind of tried to pick it up because I wanted to be part of the cool kids. But I still I really wish I could draw everything that's in my brain to help me put it down on paper to help communicate it a little bit better. But I just, for some reason, I can see physically, I can see light and be this works. But then when I try and just draw it, there's this weird disconnect I don't know.
I always thought that people, because I've seen your sketches and I thought, maybe that's what helps. Because, I mean, you look at one of these images, I don't know. Maybe it's just obviously you're posting the highlight reel, but
yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't walk down a place like that and be let's take a picture. I mean, even this, you have a line that goes across in the top right and the whole kind of big blocky on the left. I don't know. It just, the way you've
granted, the last couple photos that you've shown, those are my trip to New York when I went specifically to take photos. And all I did was walk around the streets looking for photos. So I feel like those compositions I was obviously looking for something to photograph.
Yeah, I don't know, like even just like a mundane street it's cool. It's good.
Oh, man, I love it. I love it. You're getting me
Yeah,
pumped again. It's been a while since I've just talked photography, and it's so like enriching and exciting.
that's awesome. I mean, that's the whole point of these things is kind of get people excited, inspired, I guess. It gets me inspired.
I mean, honestly, the last probably 6 months, I've gone downhill on a lot of social media, specifically Instagram. Like if you look at my feed, I've stopped caring. Like I'm not after the SEO or the hashtags. I don't think if you click on any of those photos, I don't think I've captioned any of them. I haven't written any. I just post the photo to let the photo speak
Yeah.
for itself, and
Yeah,
the
you don't have
views and the likes
anything
have
on these.
like tanked because I just don't care. These are my photos that if you like them, you like them. But like recently I started doing this Cancun stuff and it got shared to a different page, and it's been so outrageous the amount of comments and messages and follows that have just started coming again that I'm like, maybe I should try a little bit harder.
That's
Maybe I should
awesome.
do that. So just today, like I've gotten probably 10 followers and at least 6 messages from people about my photo. And I'm like, it's been people do like my stuff. It's been a minute.
Was it on
All,
Instagram?
all on Instagram. Yeah.
Nice. Because you posted. Oh, so was it from this image here?
No, two before that.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah.
one. So that was the first one that I posted of this Cancun trip that I just went on and did specifically large format photography. And the camera company, Intrepid, reshared it today.
Oh,
And
nice.
all of a sudden I'm getting traction again. And I'm like, oh yeah, when you do tag people, people notice.
um, yeah. So you went to Cancun specifically to shoot large format, or was it like a
Yeah,
vacation or something?
it was just a
Kind of.
vacation. My family has a timeshare down there, so it was planned, but I've been lacking in my photography, and so I wanted to specifically set aside time every day to take my large format and only take large format photos
So every day still, or every day on that trip?
on that trip
Okay.
specifically. I even before that trip I went and I bought one box of film of Ektar 100 and I was like, these are my 10 sheets. I'm not coming back until they're exposed with pictures I am genuinely happy about. So I kind of had 7 days and I was like, 10 sheets, 7 days. Let's see what I come up with.
Did you spend a bunch of time just like looking? Because you shot one shot per day, or did you shoot more than one shot?
It kind of switched because it was a family vacation. It was
Uh huh.
kind of like family time. And then, oh, today I know there's going to be good lighting. So tonight, I'm sorry, family.
You're
Golden
gonna.
hour is my photo time. I'll be gone from 5 to 7 looking for a photo.
So you would just kind of. I mean, were you staying at a resort or something?
Yep. Yep.
So you would like leave the resort and then you would just kind of wander wherever and then just like be just eagle eye looking around for something that you could take
Yeah.
a photo of.
Yeah. And I kind of had that mindset the whole time that that's what I wanted to do. So,
Mm-hmm.
like when we went on family stuff during the day, if we did an excursion, one day we went to Women's Island specifically, and we had gone last year there. And I knew there were some cliffs, which is the photo that I posted today with the like cave. I knew that area was there. And so I was like, I'm going to break away from them and I'm just going to look around this mountainside and this beach and I'm going to find something. And I ended up finding like 3 shots that I ended up taking at this location.
So did you take more than one box of film?
I did. I took 2 boxes, but I ended up exposing 12 shots,
Uh-huh.
but 2 of those will never see the light of day. So
Just didn't like
I
them.
yeah, I'm just gonna say
Yeah.
that there were 10 because one of them was a safety backup shot in case
Uh-huh.
I messed something up because it was the lighthouse one. I was like, this is such a good shot. I'm going to take two just in case something happens. And by the time I took the second one, the clouds had already shifted and the sun went down, and it was a waste of film to take that shot anyways. And then
Okay.
another one, I don't know, it just didn't work. So
So are you traipsing around with like this big old camera on your
yeah.
shoulder? I mean, especially when you go back to this shot. I mean, that's kind of it appears like it's somewhat of a hike.
Yeah, I literally came down from where you're viewing. So the green on the top of the mountain, I had to hike down the backside of that, and then I wrapped around. So I did specifically because I knew I was doing large format. I did make sure I had a compact setup, and I 3D printed a lens case so that my lens was always protected, and I
Nice.
made sure it all fit my backpack because I wasn't going to be hiking with a huge built out camera. So I had everything broken down until it was time to set up. But then it becomes a 15-minute setup because you have to get the
Yeah.
tripod out, you have to build the camera, put the lens on, attach the cable release, compose, load the film, take the shot, and then break it all down at the end.
So for a person like me, who I would consider myself pretty lazy, that seems super. Like it doesn't seem. It's like a ratio thing. So you have
Yeah.
your build up, takedown to image. Doesn't seem like it's worth it. Plus hike, plus, I mean, then you got to develop the whole thing like
Yep.
that. Where's the motivation for you?
And like flying with film sucks too because you have to get it all hand checked. You can't just run it through the x-rays.
Because that
So
ruins it, huh?
security, yeah, security sucks. It's such a nightmare. And I can't tell you. I can't tell you where the motivation comes from. Besides like large format specifically. If it was digital, I'd shoot digital large format. It's just so
Mm,
expensive, and even just like medium format digital is like the entry barrier is so intense
yeah.
that it was easy to get a film large format camera and a new one. I bought my new from this company, and that it mainly comes down. I'm talking all over the place. It comes down to the process of building, and I specifically wanted to take time with composition.
Hmm.
And when you have the ability to do rise and shift and tilt with a large format camera, it really makes you analyze, is it worth building the camera for this shot? Is this shot worth the time, the hike? And it really makes you think about your shot before you take it because
Hmm.
at the end of the day you've only got 10 shots. It's such a large process to get into, take the shot, get out of, then develop. It makes you very picky about what
Uh-huh.
you shoot.
So then for a shot like this cave shot, I guess,
Hmm.
I mean, I actually think is a fantastic shot. Um, I mean, maybe that's kind of your motivation is just like, I mean, the shot.
I wouldn't have even like gone there if I had only had my digital camera. Like
Yeah.
I think maybe that is the motivation is I really see things differently
Uh-huh.
because I know I need something that really just kind of works. Everything works together. And I did have to do some specific camera movements that I wouldn't have been able to pull off with a digital camera.
Is that the rise, tilt, and whatever you're
Uh-huh.
talking? Wait, so if I have a camera here, or do you have your camera near you?
I don't. I left it at home.
Okay. So your rise tilt, like let's say my lens cap is the lens. It's you can actually tilt your lens, move
Hmm.
it up and down, because you have the bellows. It's a more free flowing, right?
Yep, yep. So you have the
Okay.
ability to move the lens up, down, left, right, tilt it forward, back, side to side. You
Mm-hmm.
have complete control. So I can set my camera up here, and then I can take my lens and shift it over, and it helps you with your verticals and all of
Uh-huh.
your lines and stuff, and it helps you physically shift the plane of what you're taking what you're taking the photo of, and
Yeah.
control your focus.
Sounds like an early tilt shift lens.
Yeah, exactly.
after you've gone to like this whole location and stuff, like how do you know you have the shot? That's kind of one of the scary things as
Yeah.
well about like all this, because you've put all that work into the hike and all that stuff. Like, what do you do to know that you've for sure gotten the shot after you've done all that work?
Pray. You force yourself to believe in God.
Do you I mean, you use a light meter, right?
I do.
You're
Yeah.
pretty good with that.
And I would be completely lying and being misleading if I didn't say I had my digital camera with me the whole time.
Nice.
And that's mainly because I wanted to record some video for my YouTube channel, but also it helps you to be able to at least view it and
Okay.
check your exposure, and at least lighting wise you can say, all right, if I used these settings, here's an idea of what it's going to turn out like. But also, just after it's almost been a complete year that I've had my large format camera, and after the year, I feel confident that 9 out of 10 times I have a solid idea of what the image is going to look like. And that
Yeah.
just comes from doing it,
From just wasting
wasting it.
rolls of, I want to say rolls, but they come in boxes, right?
Boxes and sheets. And
Of
I was going to bring it. A 35 millimeter negative's like that big.
uh-huh.
Medium format 120 is like that big. And then a 4x5 is 4 inches by 5 inches sheet film.
If you shot the image on digital to see kind of how it would look, if you put your film camera on those same settings, do they match up pretty good, or
Most of the time, setting wise, they do. As long as you're using like current and not expired film,
uh-huh.
you know what your ISO is going to be, and then the setting wise, usually the latitude's a little different, so you may have a little bit of overexposure or underexposure, but
Hmm.
your mid grounds, your middle grays are usually pretty exact.
And do you have a lot of dynamic range to play with in film?
Uh, yeah, it kind of depends on if you're shooting a negative versus slide, or, and then each individual stock kind of has different. I'd say, and don't quote me on this, but I'd say you've probably got around 10 to 12 stops.
Dude, that's pretty huge actually.
Surprisingly, it is.
I shoot on a 5D Mark III, and it's a pretty old camera, I think I would consider. So like I can maybe pull out a stop, maybe two stops without it starting to like break down and look weird. You have a R5 or
Just an R.
an R, and so that's a lot newer. You have a lot more dynamic range than even me on your Canon. So do you feel like you have the same amount of range in your film or in some films as you do in your Canon?
It's probably pretty close. The
Hmm.
difference, I would say, is that digital handles underexposure so well, whereas film is the opposite and it handles overexposure very well. So you just kind of have to have that mindset of,
Hmm.
if I'm going to miss my exposure on film, you'd rather overexpose. Honestly, it all comes down to like field notes kind of stuff. Like I brought this. This is my Cancun trip, and the only way you're ever going to learn is by like
Huh.
being able to remember. Like these are all my exposures, the lighting conditions, how I had the camera, the rise, the tilt, everything I do. I sit down afterwards and I just like write it down so that when I see it, I can be like, oh, that's why I messed up.
Wow, dude, I didn't know you were that technical.
Otherwise, it's like that's how you waste film, is by like
Yeah.
not remembering because you don't have the metadata afterwards to look back and kind of learn from.
Uh-huh.
And I like to, I have a dark room and I develop a lot of my own photos as well. So on top of that, there's just like a lot of this stuff, and that's what I'm into. And so
Uh-huh.
I keep copious notes of, I've got probably a page for every photo I took in Cancun.
Dude, that's crazy. I didn't know that. How do you just like measure your angle from, like, if you're going, what is your tilt? Do you have like do you carry, what is it, a protractor with you to like measure that, or is there just like settings or indicators on the camera?
personally, I'm not that technical with
Okay.
angles and stuff. I'll just note down I did some tilt or I did, and then
Oh,
I can usually remember like, oh, that, like, you see the photo and you're like, that's not in focus. It was because of my camera movements, because I know it was in focus, and then I went and I mucked it all up.
okay. Gotcha. You sent me photos of, so this is the first one we saw.
So that one is the exact opposite view of the cave one that you just had pulled up. So I just
Oh, so let
literally
me
180'd,
swap these.
and that's the other direction. So it's
Huh.
probably like 20 feet behind the other one. They're not like physically just 180 degrees, but they're within 20 feet of each other.
So the circly one, it I was thinking you had walked kind of down into somewhat of a cavernous area. It just was there just like a big rock overhead that you just shot through?
No,
Looks like.
like yeah, kind of. And you know what? I have behind the scenes that I can.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to say. If you want to know more, check out my YouTube channel.
Which like yeah, you should really check out his YouTube channel because this is when going back to like just the beginning where I was just talking about how like he can see light and I don't know. I think everything he does is just pretty. So like his YouTube channel is really good too. Like even when he's just like setting up behind the scenes, he lights it and sets up a cool camera angle. And so just like watching his YouTube video is like kind of like seeing a cinematic movie. At least to me, I like all this stuff.
Shoot. And honestly, that's my goal moving forward with my YouTube is I I don't know. I started like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
it's taken me this long to kind of find my footing, which maybe I'll
Oh, it
change
does.
directions in 6 months. But
Yeah.
right now, my focus is I see things how I see things, and that's why I take pictures is because I see something and I think I wonder what that would look like on film. I wonder what
Uh-huh.
that would look like if I captured it and how I can adjust it. And that's what I want my YouTube channel to be is like a look behind the lens and say, "Oh, this is what inspired me about this shot. This is what I had to do to make it happen. Follow me if you like that stuff. If
Yeah.
not, I don't care." There is one photo. I don't know how we're doing on time. There is one that I'd love to just talk to you about. Let's talk about the one with the palm tree at sunrise. This one I'd love to just talk about and get your thoughts on because I have the notes right in front of me.
Yeah.
But I'd love to just get your first opinions on this photo because I haven't showed this one to anyone else yet. And you can tell me that it sucks. That's totally fine.
Just as it is. I mean, I think it's good. I don't I'm trying to think if there's anything like I
Is
really
that
liked.
is that something you'd take a photo of?
I don't know. Probably, yeah. I mean, yeah, because I do like the rule of thirds you got going on here with it. And then I like the tire tracks going just off the camera left. And then the sunset looks really good. I mean, I'd obviously it'd be cool if the sunset was like really saturated and kind of more orangey and purpley.
Yeah.
Um, but I think as the picture is, like it's a really good picture.
Man, that's not what I wanted to hear. I
What were you
wanted
looking
you to
for?
be so excited about this photo.
So,
Dang
I mean,
it.
I'm looking at some of the other ones. I mean, that's a cool shot. I see this one's. I like this one just because of the haze and the mist.
Yeah.
Um, and the light. This one is like, well, this one and then the this cave one.
Those are the cave one and the lighthouse are my two favorites of the
Yeah.
whole trip.
So I love how like 1970s and kind of old school nostalgic this one looks.
Have you seen Call Me by Your Name?
No, I've never heard of that.
Oh man, that's the vibes I get from that photo.
Okay, is that a movie?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Probably set in the early 90s in Italy, kind of a hot summer day.
Man, I I don't want to burst your bubble, but I mean this is a great picture. But I think out
It's
of
your least
all of
favorite.
them, I think because it's the least saturated.
Okay, I'll
So, and
give
I
you that.
think because this one you've got a more orange of pop. Because I'm guessing you took this one before the single palm tree, right?
No, no. So
No.
the palm tree was my first morning in
Okay.
Mexico, and the that one was my last evening.
Okay. I guess I can see. So, what is this like? I don't even know how 4 in the morning or something, 6 in the morning.
6:45.
Okay.
Oh, I can tell you exactly. It was 6:58. Tree right of frame beach f8 at 1/8 of a second on Ectar 100, and I handheld a point 0.6 grad ND filter in
Oh,
front of it.
nice.
And I eyeballed it to keep it all in exposed. That's the only reason I'm so excited, was because that was my first time ever using a grad ND, and I just literally was like hand holding it in front of the lens, and it worked.
That's cool.
But nobody cares. It's not a
Okay.
good photo.
Wait, so but you wanted to bring it up for some reason. What was your
Because I was proud of it.
is this your most proud photo?
That's the one that I was most unsure if it was going to turn out. That that was the most shot in the dark. I took my exposure. I didn't have my digital this morning. It was spur of the moment. Just I'm gonna experiment. I'm gonna try something new, and it worked. It didn't turn out like complete dog shit.
Okay.
And I think compositionally, it's an okay photo, but it works the most for me because I tried something new and it worked.
So it has more I guess it's got more sentimental value to you than it does like artistic value
Yeah.
comparatively to like the other images.
Yeah, it's more of
Yeah.
a an achievement pride thing for sure. The other beach one with the bird, that was taken 17 minutes later on the other
Oh.
side of the palm tree. I literally just walked on the other side of the palm tree closer to the beach and took that one. And the sun had finally peaked above the horizon, hit those clouds, and I was like, "Yes. This is the shot I woke up for." And this is a better shot than the one before. 100%.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it's just because it's used what I'm used to like seeing on postcards and movies, or
No, I between these two photos, this one's a better photo. Emotionally, I feel more. I think visually, this is a better photo, but I'm more proud of the other one. And art is so subjective. Like that's why I love it.
yeah. So I'm kind of a square person or a lines person, I would say.
Okay.
Um, I do like curves, but I've also like I don't know. I like
There's
lines for some
something
reason.
so satisfying about straight lines.
Yeah, and symmetry and stuff. So like this one is really cool for the fact that like yeah, there's some lines. It's all there's like no curves in there. Well, I guess the palm trees, so the leaves, but I don't know. So there is like a charm to it, but that say yeah, I guess when you add compared to this one,
There's more depth to this one.
yeah, this one draws your eye to a place. Like you start, on your left, then you kind of go off to the right, and then I don't know, the horizon draws my eye back maybe towards the left, and then you see the clouds kind of bring another diagonal. Like you kind of have a like a greater than sign with the
Yeah.
clouds and then the birds like right in there central.
Yeah, I think your eyes are just kind of guided but allowed to wander through this image a little bit.
This one I freaking love too. This, I mean, this one actually could be. So I wouldn't say this is now my new favorite because I really like the lighthouse one.
I don't think you had seen that one. I scanned that one last night, so that's a new
This new
addition.
one, this beach chair
Yep.
one. Yeah, maybe that's why. So, but this one reminds me. I think I like this one because personally, this reminds me of like a trip we took to the Cayman Islands. But there was a day we went out and like generally on these trips, I'd have to like film because there's like an event basically. So I'm filming all the time. And there was a day for like a couple hours where I was just kind of resting and nothing was really going on. And I was able to take a kayak out to like just kind of around the beach area. But the sand was the same way. It's just like this super white. The water was only maybe 3 or 4 feet deep, and you could see right down through it. Blue skies like this, fluffy white clouds. So I think I like this one a lot because it really brings back those memories for me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of got this like old school. So I'm the age where I grew up with like actual um, physical pictures. And so this has kind of that coloring that I remember looking
Yeah.
back on pictures. So it kind of just gives me a lot of nostalgia looking at this one.
Yeah, I'm super happy with how this one was. Definitely just like a camping experience. I saw those three chairs lined up
Mm-hmm.
there, and I saw there's actually a boat. I don't know if you can really tell that it's a boat right in the center. It kind of just looks like waves, but in the distance, right in the middle, there's a boat.
Yeah.
And I saw those two things, and then it all came down to like I set my shot up, and then I just kind of laid out and enjoyed the weather, and I waited for a person.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was probably out there like 30 or 40 minutes waiting for someone to walk, and I just eyeballed it, and I was like, okay, that equals out the picture, because it was very left
Yeah.
centered and everything was on that side, and I was like, someone, and I will wait until someone walks through the right side of my photo.
No, see, that's where I was also going to say that too. Like having a person in there, I think really connects you as a human to the photo. You know what I mean? Because like you
Yeah.
have the bird in the other one, and you have the palm tree and whatever. Like, so you're kind of just looking at whatever. I don't know that I was going to mention that. Yeah, like it reminds me of all my nostalgic stuff, but then there's that human there that just kind of like I don't know, maybe like some weird level makes me feel like that's me in the photo. Like
Yeah.
just I can connect myself there because there's an actual human in the photo. So like, yeah, waiting for that was totally worth it.
Especially like this is, I will admit, like there was a lot that went into the photo, but there was so much that was just chance as well. Like that
Hmm.
boat could have left, could have drifted, someone could have sat in the chairs. And there were moments where like families walked through,
Uh
and
huh.
I just waited because I was like, I want just like one person. And I think I would have preferred if they were a little further closer to camera or further away,
Mm.
but just the timing that some one person walked through, because without that one person it's just a desolate empty beach,
Yeah.
which I lucked out on. Like 20 feet to the left is that palm tree,
Hmm.
and I was like, I love the minimalist aspect, but it can't be too empty. There needs to be something there. And I think the person
Well, and that
works.
really balances it out. Like, so I thought the boat, when you look at it at with the size I just put it at, like, I thought the boat wasn't just another white cap.
Yeah.
But even still, I mean, so you have the chairs and the person that balances it out, and then the boat. Yeah, there's a lot of balance to it after you waited for the human to walk by.
Yeah.
uh,
Photography.
do you have anything to say about your lighthouse one?
Honestly, it's probably the best one out of all of them. Pure luck.
Yeah.
I knew the lighthouse existed, and I knew that night I was going to go look for it. I had told my family that morning. I was like, the weather looks okay tonight. I'm
Hmm.
gonna find this lighthouse. It took a long time. Had to hike across 3 beaches to find
Dang.
it. I found it literally 10 minutes before the sunset, and then 30 minutes later it started raining. So timing wise, it really just worked. Originally, I just wanted the lighthouse. That was kind of all that I wanted. But then this
Hmm.
like kid just like walked into my photo. Like I have a huge camera, a huge setup pointed at this lighthouse, and on the bottom right side, there's a kid on his phone.
Oh, there is a kid there.
There's a kid there. And there's a bird on the other side.
Oh, okay.
And I waited. I was like, this is a perfect photo. I love the depth. I used a little bit of camera movements to make sure I was pretty low, but I made sure that the lighthouse was vertical. I waited for the waves. And then this kid walks in, and I was like, do I go ask him to move? But I kind of like it.
You just yelled fire.
Go! It's falling.
Yeah.
No, it kind of worked. And I was like, this kid, I don't know who he is. But when you look at it at this size, it makes you wonder, who is this kid sitting by this lighthouse that obviously doesn't work? There's 10 feet of stairs missing.
Oh, yeah.
It just happens to add a little bit more to the photo that I was like, yes. And like I said, 10 minutes later, I took another photo, completely gray background. The clouds looked like crap. There was no blue. And then 20 minutes after that, it was raining. And I had to rush to get everything put back together so it didn't get ruined. But I just happened to be and get myself to the right place at the right time. And I think that's a photo that I want to print 60 inches. I want a huge ass print of that on my wall.
Oh, yeah, because you can make these way big, right?
Huge billboards.
Does the kid in there make the photo for you?
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't think I would miss him if he was gone.
Yeah.
But I love that he's there.
Yeah. He's just neutral to me. So he doesn't make the photo, doesn't break the photo. I didn't notice he was there until you told me and I zoomed in.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're obviously looking at these pretty small. So maybe if it was like printed out, I might have, and it was like really large, I might be like, oh, that it might strike me a little more.
If you were staring at it and it was a full wall print, and honestly, a lot of this is very personal. And it's like, I was there and I had to debate. Do I go ask him to move? He just sat in my shot. And I made the conscious decision to keep him in the photo. And afterwards, I was happy about it. It just works for me.
It is kind of story-esque now that I start noticing it all. I mean, I just really liked, again, the colors. Like, it's a very simple color palette, you know?
Yeah.
And then you have, again, kind of sort of a rule of thirds. I mean, your rocks are in your bottom third, and then your clouds take up your top two. And then I just love how centered and like stripy the lighthouse is.
Yeah. If you Google Cancun lighthouse, you'll find this lighthouse. But most of the like big impressive photos are taken from the left side because there's like a crashed boat over there. Yeah, a lot of those photos include the broken boat, and it looks really cool. And that's originally I showed up and I was like, I got to get that shot. Where's the boat? But the sun with this time of year was like right behind me, and it made it look so flat. It was just being nailed with sun. There was no depth or dimension to the lighthouse. So I kept walking. And I was like, I need to see some shadow on this lighthouse. I waited until sunset for this photo. So I walked over to where the light was splitting it perfectly in half. And I was like, yes, that's the photo. That's the photo.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah.
That's why large format, because you have to think about those things. Like, you don't just pull it out and take the shot. You sit there and you're like, do I take this shot? Well, let me walk around and see if I can add some more to this. And you really think about it.
Part of me has been wanting to like do, because I've sort of been interested in getting into film, but part of me is also, because I like the idea of slowing down. So part of me is like, could I get like a 56 megabyte CF card or something like that, and just like, because you could go around and be like, I'm going to slow down and take the shot, but then if you have like a 128 gig card, you're going to take a couple. But if you can be like, I'm just going to throw in a 50 megabyte card that'll give me 2 or 3 shots or whatever you can do.
Right.
I've always been curious if that's possible or to, try doing that for digital.
A lot of new wave people who are getting into film right now, that's their reason for shooting film, is to slow down. And
Mm-hmm.
personally, like, I've been doing film for about 3 years now, so I'm not by any means a veteran, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't like, if I have a 35 millimeter camera with 36 exposures, I'm still gonna like fire off a few, and I'm still gonna like, I don't know, you don't get it immediately see, but I don't think it slows me down any. So that's not necessarily a reason for film specifically, but it is a reason for larger format, because you do have to set everything up. It literally takes more time
Mm-hmm.
to do all of that. And that's just me personally. That's what appeals to me so much is I I think a lot about things, and this is just an excuse to think about it even more.
Interesting. Okay. So that's your why you do what you do kind of
Large
spiel.
format, at least, yeah,
Yeah.
is it does make you overanalyze a photo.
You also have a medium format camera too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And do you have to do the same or similar?
I can handhold my medium format,
Okay.
so I don't. I think it's like it's a middle ground. It takes a little bit more work than 35 millimeter, but it's definitely not carry a tripod, have to set up the camera type of thing. And
Okay.
for me, that's perfect for portraits and stuff, because I still have enough room that I can move around and I can just kind of be inspired and spur of the moment, take a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a large format is, you set the tripod up, you overthink it, you picture the image, and then you make it happen. Whereas 35 millimeter, you just kind of like, yeah, that looks good. Take the
Even
photo.
with only 36 frames or whatever.
Yeah, even with
Huh.
36 frames, I shot 11 rolls of 35 millimeter while I was out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I love them. I love them, but that wasn't the focus of the trip for me. Those were just
Yeah.
candid family photos. And
Does that make more work for you at at the end or after? Because you have to develop and do all that, scan them, I'm guessing too, right?
yeah, luckily, like, I kind of have, uh, like, I enjoy that. That's my
Okay.
decompression at the end of the day, is I'll just go into the dark room and develop a few rolls. And I've got a process in place after doing it for a few years that it kind
Mm-hmm.
of just works and flows. And it is more work, but it's the kind of work that I like.
Should a person get into film? Like, should I get into film?
Hell yeah. I think if there's a reason to do it, do it.
Try to find my reason though. I guess you can't give me my reason even if I ask if I should get into film.
Yeah, it's because at the end of the day, it costs, like, a box of large format film is 50 to 60 bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So you're paying for only 10 shots, you're paying 60 bucks for 10 shots. All film costs more. Plus you got to get it developed and scanned, and it's not a decision you can just be like, yeah, I'm going to do this. But if you enjoy it and it's something that you want to invest in, and it's definitely made me understand photography and exposure a lot better. Um, so for that reason alone, yeah, I think everyone should at least learn how to shoot film.
How do you, so what do you need to do exactly what you do? Because you have from start to finish, you're a start to finish film
Yeah.
photographer. So then I should probably ask you, what do you need to be a start to finish film photographer? Like what's kind of the bare minimum things you need to buy?
You're going to go out, you're going to take your photos, and then you're going to come back, and
Mm-hmm.
all you need to do is invest in some chemicals, which there are so many sites and places that are popping up now that are reinvigorating film developing.
Uh-huh.
You just have to buy some chemicals and a development tank, and then you need a way to scan it. So you just need developing tank and chemicals and a scanner. Whether that's a, like, DSLR scanning is surprisingly awesome.
Oh yeah, because you can
And
get a light box and
yep, all you need is just any light and a macro lens, and you just take a picture of it. And then there's a plugin for Lightroom called Negative Lab Pro that converts it and flips it for you, gives you digital DSLR or mirrorless scans. So you've got the dynamic range from the digital camera, and you got that area to work your negatives.
so for me, let's say I've taken my pictures and I'm done the general part that I think everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll need to find a place, and I've heard they make tents that you can
Yeah,
actually they kind of like have the gloves on them stuff too. Are those kind of expensive, or is it easier to just like get a light tight room?
it honestly just kind of depends on how much you're going to get into it. Starting off, you don't need one of those.
Okay.
Just a dark room. Go in your bathroom and your closet. Make sure there's no light.
So I would need then there's a thing that you unroll the film onto, right?
Yeah, so you'll break it out of the canister.
Do you need a tool for that?
You can use a can opener,
Okay.
a bottle opener. You can just pop the
Okay.
bottom off. You take the film out, and there's a spool, a circular spool
Uh-huh.
that you load the film onto, and you wind it up.
And then it kind of runs in there's like grooves, right? So it
Mm-hmm.
separates the film by like a couple millimeters, right?
Yep, so that none of it's touching and it all evenly gets developed when the chemical hits it. And then you just stick it in a little tank.
Do the tanks, because we had ones, I think you could fit like 4 or 5 spools. Do they make like smaller ones for single spools, or are they always like a 4 or 5 spool?
If you're getting the new plastic ones that are light tight, all
Mm-hmm.
you have to do is put the lid on and you can turn the lights on and do the rest in the light.
So I have my film on the little roll thingy.
Mm-hmm.
Do I mix the chemicals up beforehand, or do I like put it on and then pour the chemicals in?
Yeah, so you'll put the spool, the loaded film into the tank,
Uh-huh.
and you'll twist the lid on. You can turn the lights on because it's light tight. You
Okay.
warm the chemicals up to the desired temperature. You can do 70 degrees for black and white. You can do room temperature. If you're doing color, you want to be around 101, 102 degrees.
Do you know why the temperature matters?
It determines the length. So you can do colder temperatures, but it has to be in the chemical longer. And usually, when you buy chemicals online, they come with a little card that tells you all of this information of
Okay.
how long, how hot the chemicals need to be, how long you're gonna expose it to what chemical, and how many times you'll like rotate it.
Uh-huh.
But you put the chemicals into the tank, mix it up.
But so you have to go back into your light tight room to take the thing off to pour the chemicals in, right?
Nope, nope. Most tanks now have like sections, so you just screw the lid on, and then it's light tight, and it has like a stepped system where it only allows like you pour the water in, and then it goes down, and then trickles down into the film, so light doesn't get in, but the chemical can. So you can do that all all in the light.
And then the chemical, do you have to like mix a couple parts of chemicals, or do you just kind of like buy a big bottle of a certain chemical that you like and then pour that in?
There's always a developer and a fixer. There's tons of brands, there's tons of different types. If you buy like there's CineStill, they
Mm-hmm.
have starter kits that come with you have a color starter kit, a black and white color, it all of that stuff. But you dump in your developer first.
So like a certain ratio, right?
You have your starter kit. It makes this much developer. You put that in, and then you dump it back into the bottle, and you can reuse that 10, 20 times. Once you've dumped it back into the bottle and there's no chemical in on your film, you then dump the fixer on it. And
Okay.
then you dump that back into the bottle. And then you rinse it and you're done.
There's no like 4 cups or whatever. You just kind of fill up the
Mm-mm.
canister and then you let it sit for the X amount of time and then you dump it back into the thing and then you put the fixer on.
Yep.
X amount of
Yep.
time. So and then once that time has passed, you can open up the thing, and then you can pull out your thing, and that's where I've seen you hang it in your shower on your shower rod or something, right?
Yep. You just you hang it to dry. There is a chemical called photo flow that
Uh-huh.
Kodak makes that specifically here we have very hard water and like it dries with spots all over the film. So if you just rinse it for 30 seconds in photo flow, it's kind of a soapy substance that lets the water just run off the film and it dries a lot cleaner. So you literally can just hang it up and it dries.
Okay.
2 hours you let it dry until it's completely dry, and then you can just scan it, whether that's through a camera or like a flatbed scanner.
And then you probably do your scanning through 35 millimeter, or do you have an actual scanner that you use?
I have an actual scanner that I
Okay.
use, a flatbed scanner, but I've been dipping my toes into using my camera a lot more because it's faster.
So another question I have is, does the DPI on the scanner matter?
Yes.
So you want the highest you can, right? Like, because I've also heard
Uh-huh.
like 600 is fine or 300 DPI is fine, but
I have to be careful because I don't completely understand a lot of this.
okay.
But I think it also comes down to like DPI versus PPI
Yeah,
because you can
that's
scan it in at 3200 PPI at 300 DPI. I don't know if that makes sense.
no, doesn't. But I'm sure to somebody it might, or we're just need a Google.
Yeah, it gets way into personal preference in my opinion. Um, I'd say anything below 800 is going to be significantly not okay.
Wow.
From 800 to 3200, you're going to have steps of increments where you can like noticeably see a difference. I think the PPI is just how big it is, whereas the DPI is how much resolution is within.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, if it's only all going onto Instagram, who really cares?
Do you get a lot of latitude in like um, exposure control? Because you'll probably take your scans into Lightroom. Do you get a lot of latitude with either scanning or digital scanning with your 35 millimeter? Do you get a lot of latitude? Can you like bring back shadows, pull down highlights, all that stuff?
I think you get more of it when you use your DSLR, and that's why I'm dipping my toes into that more. Um, and that might just come down to format, like file format. A DNG or a C, whatever the Canon is, CR.
CR2.
That file might just work better at being ripped apart than a TIFF.
I mean, this could be a situation where it's like, if you've made it this far into the episode, leave a comment. And if you
Teach
know,
me.
yeah, if you know, I mean, like this whole thing's a knowledge share. So if you know more than we do, leave it in the comments field.
The only real reason of shooting film and staying within that analog process is to darkroom print for me. Like once you scan it, it's a digital file, and then you can treat it just like a digital photo at
Uh-huh.
that point. Whereas it's such a whole, and this is a whole nother episode to get into darkroom printing and physically printing prints. But that's the payoff for me of having a digital negative is to put it in larger and to physically print an analog print.
All right, we're gonna leave you with that thought. I want to thank Ryan for being on. Check out his YouTube channel. Check out his Instagram. I'm gonna leave either links below or in the video here, and you can check him out. Thanks again, Ryan.
Thanks for having me on.